You mentioned, attitude, and my godmother, who will have a story on this channel as well, has cancer, and she was given 2 years, and she's on year 7 now, and her whole goal was, listen, I know that I'm never, probably anyway, going to be out of the woods completely. All I want is to see my grandkids married. And that was her goal. And that was even going to be 6 months beyond what they gave her. She made it to that point. All of her grandkids are married and they have their own children. So now she's a great grandmother. But you're right. She does the same thing, and it's hard, but wakes up every day, she tells me, and makes a decision about how she's going to, be present in the world. And it's made a big difference for her.
That's so awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
it just proves that the will, the decision, the fortitude, grit,
Yeah.
all of that is important in this fight. It's not just the medicine. It's everything. It's your total being that you got to get fully involved to fight. And, I'm so glad to hear that about her. Doesn't surprise me at all. As I talk with you, Carrie, you're a fighter. You go out there and you make it happen. That's why we're so glad to have you on the team.
Oh.
We wanted to have the very best for the Reyes Foundation. And I can't wait for y'all to hear more about Carrie's story and how she got where she is in life. I mean, this grit, determination. I mean, obviously she learned it from, her people that brought her into this world, which is amazing. My mother, I'll just tell you, when I was in 8th grade, they told her she was going to die in 6 months. She had multiple diseases, not cancer at the time. She was supposed to go blind and lose all her hair. And how old are you in 8th grade? 12 or 13? She made it,
younger, a little bit older. Yeah. 13.
Somewhere around there. And she didn't pass away until 22. And
Wow.
it was cancer that got her in the end, but she changed her diet. She was juicing. She was fighting. And I'm not saying that diet and juicing is the secret. What I'm saying is when you get hit with bad news, it's time to maybe adapt, make some changes, and put on the armor. It's time to fight. And anything you do, I want to encourage you, because something you may be eating or juicing or trying may have an adverse effect. Like, for example, apparently when you're on certain types of blood pressure medicine, they don't recommend drinking grapefruit juice. Well, it's in their stuff. Well, there's a lot of stuff they have to write, so it's super small. I mean, how many of you actually read everything and know what it says? So I would just encourage you, again, as you're hearing us share things that other people have done, go over it with your doctor, because hate to put yourself in a situation where you end up losing your hair because you were drinking grapefruit juice and you end up looking like me.
I was going to say, is that what happened to you?
I don't know. It could have been. So, but just all these things, just making slight rudder adjustments to prepare for the fight. And you may have the best plan. I think it was Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. When you get punched in the face with this, you got to back up and assess the situation you're in and make a decision that how are you going to attack it back? And you know what? We would talk about fighting cancer. My buddy says, man, when you're 1 year in remission, we're going to get a cancer piñata and we're going to go out there and destroy it. Boom, boom, boom. My friend Roberta, who's a nurse practitioner, when I got the port put in my chest, she says, Richard, I want you to imagine when the drug's flowing through your veins. Think about a military vehicle going around inside your blood with a 50 cal firing away at the cancer cells. She goes, I want you to think about that when you're in the chemo room. And guess what I thought about? The little things going around, Humvees, boom, 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 firing away at the cancer cells. And you may think that's corny if you're listening to me right now, but man, I thought about it. I told others about it. I found all kinds of memes on my phone with cannons going off and explosions. I'm like, we're going in for treatment today. We're going to attack this thing. We're bringing the fight to cancer. And that's what the Richard Reyes Foundation is about, is we're not sitting here on the sidelines. We're bringing the fight to cancer. We're meeting it where it's at. And, the whole goal is to eventually, hopefully, erase all cancer on this earth. If there's a way to do that, we're doing it. And while we're in the fight, We're bringing the fight to you, empowering you, giving you knowledge, giving you tips from people that have walked in these footsteps before you, because hindsight is 2020. So that's what we're trying to do, is capture the hindsight of caregivers, hindsight of medical professionals, hindsight of survivors, hindsight of people that have been having cancer treatment for years and are still in there fighting today. And then covering the subject of survivor's guilt. It is real. I still wonder today, why was I spared? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You just, especially when you go back to the doctor and you see everybody still in the room, you're like, why did I get spared versus that person? And I still working on that one. And I've been talking to my doctor about it. I'm still working on that one. And I can just tell you, it is a real thing. A lot of people say, hey, you should be happy, you're in remission. Okay, I am happy. But it's just know you can't catch yourself being mad at everybody too. Like, you can get very angry and jaded at the world. Like, how do they know what I'm going through? They don't even know what they're talking about. Just know that people don't know what to say. Kind of like at a funeral. They're like, I'm sorry. Is there anything I can do for you? Yeah, bring my mom back.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it'll get easier. And then I caught myself when my mom died. Well, how do you know? Both your parents are here. And it wasn't until another person came to me that had lost their mom, and I listened to them. You know what they said? It's going to get easier day by day, one day at a time. And I listened to them because they were in the exact same situation. So that's what the Richard Reyes Foundation is about, is to bring people to you that have been there, done that, so that way your guard is down and you'll listen.
And you have the benefit of their experiences.
Right. And I hope that's making sense what I'm saying. Like, when someone's giving you advice and they've never been through it, you kind of already know, and you're like, who are they? How do they even know? Mm-hmm. But when someone else has been through it, you're like, can you tell me more? And that's what this is about as well. It's just let's take down the brick walls. Mm-hmm. Let's open up, guys. Let's share for other guys. Yeah. There's people that would talk if they could. We need to speak for them. And there's some that this can be avoided if us guys speak up. And I can't be remiss to say that colorectal cancer is not a male's disease. It hits males and females because everyone has a butt. It's the number 2 killer currently. And I looked that up a week ago. Lung cancer was number 1, and number 2 deaths is colorectal. It's a very serious disease that can be caught early. And, I just want to encourage people, get scanned, get screened, get checked, get scanned, get screened, get checked.
Those 3 things, that's the motto. And you're right. I mean, we hear that, but sometimes it's very easy to sort of like brush it off. I don't have a history, or I feel fine, or I don't have time to do that today. And that's, I know guys don't like going to the doctor. So that's maybe an additional hurdle on that side, but you're 100% right. And, we hear that early detection, screening, et cetera, but it can't be overstated how important that is.
Yeah. And there's multiple things, when you think about getting scanned, getting screened, getting checked. I said earlier that my cancer that I had was not ever detected in my blood, ever. And the doctor told me that was a good thing, because if the markers were high, that means it was all over my body. So what does that tell everybody? That blood work is not enough. Mm-hmm. And so I want to bring up, there's a product that's out there. I won't say the name, but you use a box to put your fecal matter in, right? To send it off to get tested, which is, hey, I'm glad that exists. And I'm not saying not to do it. What I'm saying is that doesn't replace the colonoscopy. And that you have to get a prescription for. I was reading the brochure the other day. I believe that that's an awesome service. And, when they tell me that I can do it, I'm going to do it as well in between my scheduled colonoscopies. But please, the thing you're worried about, the prep, is no big deal, especially if you don't think, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to eat for a day. Let me eat a lot of food. The prep is easy, if you prep for it. And, you go to sleep, you wake up, and it's done. And then you know what you're dealing with. Don't go the easy route by just not doing anything. You could put yourself in a worse situation. You have people that rely on you, even if you don't think you matter. You matter. You're a friend to someone. You're a son to someone. You're a husband to someone. You're a boyfriend or girlfriend to someone. You're an associate to someone. You're an employee of someone. Maybe you're the owner. Maybe you're the employer. You matter. So if you're thinking about not doing stuff because you think you don't matter, just know that you do matter. We're all so closely connected. It's so neat when you meet people and you're like, oh, you're from the same town that I'm at. Oh, we know the same people. We're so connected. It's so crazy. Just know that you matter. So if you're catching yourself depressed, bummed out, hey, it's okay. Pull your bootstrings up. Let's go talk to someone and know that you matter and fight.
I love it. With every cell of your being, right? It's mental, it's emotional, it's medical, it's physical, nutrition. I mean, all of those different elements need to put on the armor and charge.
While you can. You just do it while you can. And I have to tell you, I visited Wayne this past week, and he's in hospice care at his house, and he's in his bed, and they've already taken 25% of his brain, but he has use of one of his arms still, and he held my hand strong, real strong. And I'm like, man, did you used to be an arm wrestler? And turned out he was a wrestler in high school and then in college. And this gentleman from his bed, as he's staring death in the eye, is still praying for a miracle and is still encouraging other people. So even if you have limited mobility, if you have the ability to be able to talk still, I would encourage you to get it out, speak about it. There's a lot of power, that you have that you can still use. So if you can't get out there, while you can get out there, because there might be a moment you can't. I know this, that when I was having some of the procedures done, there was a lot of things they said I couldn't do during the procedure or because of the procedure. And I was so grateful when it was over, and I'm like, all right, can I go back to doing the thing again? So while you still can do stuff, do it.
You mentioned the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people. And one of the sort of items in there, or one of the threads, was you will talk to people who you think are in your corner, and they will end up being judgy. Judgmental is the word they used. You mentioned that you had some people who blamed you for having cancer. 2 questions. Part 1, do you go back? This is a question for you. I'm not asking you to, speculate on what everybody does, but did you find yourself going back and combing through your lifestyle and wondering if perhaps you are guilty or you did something that brought this upon yourself?
Yeah, you definitely, because you got plenty of time to think, right? And someone you were talking to and now you're not talking to, I've always been one, I don't, there's a Bible verse that says, don't let the sun go down on your anger, right? So like, don't want to be mad at your wife and go to sleep. And, what if you don't wake up, right? So I never want anyone to be upset at me. So I want to repair stuff if possible, defuse the situation. So I've always thought about that. Unfortunately, they may not want it when you want it. And I have a close family member, real close. We grew up in the same house. That's how close, that we don't talk now at all. And everything fell apart during cancer. And it was terrible. I've forgiven this person for me, but I'm still hurt by it, and they don't know what to say, and it's awkward, and still happens. You have to know that cancer doesn't just affect you; it affects those around you. And so some people are selfish. Some people don't know how to deal with their stuff. My mom and dad, just so you know, they split when my mom had cancer. She moved out of the house when she was in hospice. I thought that was going to happen to my wife and I thought we were going to split. And I was so scared about that. So just put your guard up, talk, and if you can, watch what you say. Don't use cancer as an excuse to talk to people however you want, because you're having a bad day. A lot of people said, oh, just tell me, man, I got big shoulders. I'm like, no, you don't really want me to tell you, because words hurt people.
Yeah.
And the saying we all grew up with, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words never hurt me. That's not true. Words are the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Words are the worst, and you can't take them back. And I've learned that it's very hard to apologize. So I would encourage y'all, if you have a relationship that is messed up, if you're wanting to fix it or just get it off your chest, I did what my mom did. My mom, when she was passing, before she passed, I heard her in the next room calling all her friends. true story. And she was asking, is there anything that I've done? And she was just making amends with anyone. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe she's doing it. She did it with her own sister. So I literally have learned from other people, if that makes sense.
It does, absolutely. You brought something up, and I don't know how comfortable you are talking about it, but you mentioned the fear that you had that the same thing would happen to you and your wife that happened to your parents. Have any tips or ideas on how partners and married spouses can get through that issue?
Well, I hope that more partners and caregivers watch this show to know that, they've got that we're going to have more people on that are caregivers and spouses, so you can hear what they did when they heard the news of their partner getting cancer. But I will tell you this, when this was happening, my buddy told me that his realtor, I believe, was diagnosed with cancer, and the husband was locking themselves in the bedroom and was not helping the spouse going through it.
Mm-hmm.
And the family was getting very upset at the husband, like, what is he doing? Why is he doing it? And we don't know what he was doing in that room. I mean, maybe he was bawling his eyes out. But the best plan, if it's you, whether you're the caregiver, the spouse, or you're the person diagnosed with cancer, you just have to talk to them about it. Like, hey, honey, what are we going to do if I go into hospice? What are we going to do if I can't mow the yard tomorrow? Like, I don't know. I will tell you this. I've been in financial services for 18 years, and I know that there's families right now that when estates are split up, kids don't agree and they don't talk to each other. Families fall apart when people pass, when they're fighting over stuff. And it's so important, if you're watching this, to get your affairs in order so you can limit the burden for the people that live on after you. I'm not giving legal advice. You've heard, have a will, have a living will, consider a trust. These are things that I would encourage you to do, because this was something that I did when I was diagnosed. I wanted to make sure everything was in order, so that way, if I couldn't speak, stuff was at least laid out. So that's another thing, because there's things, what you can't control is everybody else, but you can control, Carrie, at least what you're saying to the people around you. And, just try to set it up like, hey guys, we're going through a tough battle together. I appreciate all y'all. Just being real with folks. Just be real.